Most people think Georgetown's future is just more houses, more traffic, higher prices, but 2026 is when Georgetown, Texas starts changing in ways that are probably going to surprise you. Those waiting on the sidelines are about to watch the best pockets get picked off first, while the rest of the market still seems kind of slow. If you're buying, selling, or relocating, you need to understand three things before you make a move in 2026. First, Georgetown, Texas won't be one market in 26. It'll be multiple micro markets. And the best properties are going to move fast even if the overall market seems slow. Secondly, the growth map is shifting. The next convenience areas are forming, and buyers who understand where life is being built are going to win. Third, commute and daily life friction is about to matter more than ever. It's going to change what areas feel worth it versus those that feel kind of exhausting. I'm Stuart Sutton. I help buyers and sellers right here in Georgetown, Texas every single week, have for over 30 years. My job is to keep you protected so you don't overpay, pick the wrong location, or buy something that feels fine today but becomes a burden later. So let's start with what actually happened in 2025, because once you see that pattern, my 26 predictions for Georgetown, Texas real estate will probably seem more obvious, and they'll have an excellent chance of coming to pass, unlike my New Year resolutions. Yes, 2025 didn't act normal. It didn't move as a single Georgetown market. Different pockets by zip code, price range, lifestyle had different demand, different negotiating leverage, and different speeds. Inventory did loosen up, but it wasn't easy by any means. Buyers had more options than previous years, but the best homes were still kind of scarce. Choice increased, but competition didn't disappear when a good home that was a terrific value, a clean yes, was put on the market. Demand stayed, but buyers became pickier and payment driven. They didn't vanish, but they got more selective because monthly payments matter more than ever. Homes with issues like layout, condition, road noise, commute, they got filtered out faster. And there became a market split between yes homes versus maybe homes. Yes homes moved fast because everybody agreed it was a great home. Maybe homes sat longer and needed a reason to become a yes home, typically price cuts, but sometimes repairs or something else. Now, 2025 had windows of opportunity, not just one linear direction. Certain time periods felt active when good inventory was hitting the market, but other periods felt slower and buyers had a little more negotiation room. Because of all this, the market was kind of confusing and timing mattered as much as stats. So now that you have my takeaways for 25, let's go back and start with a key point in 25, why multiple Georgetown markets came to be and how that changes what you might want to watch for in 26. Yes, 25 was confusing because Georgetown itself was the headline, but buyers and sellers were living inside multiple different micro markets, and they moved differently. If you just look at the citywide picture, Georgetown looked like it was a slow market, more negotiable, but data shows that median sell price, a little over $400,000 in Georgetown, was selling in 101 days. But that's a conglomeration of all the property types. For example, when you zoom into zip codes, you see a split immediately. 78626 moved more like an affordable lane, with 70 days on the market on the average and about a $375,000 average price. 78628, buyers were a little more selective, homes took a little longer to sell, average price around $495. Now, the time on the market is a little skewed in 78628 because of new homes, which certainly take longer because of to-be-builts. Now let's look at 78633 farther out west. It kind of went to its own rhythm. Homes sold in an average of 95 days and had a median sale price of around $428,000. Sun City itself is proof of how a community can behave inside a city market. Its average price was $380,000 and selling time about 71 days. So what's the real world translation? Well, two homes can be the same price, but one might sell fast because it's in an active lane and checks all the boxes. Another one might sit because it's in a slower lane or has challenges like road noise, condition, pricing. So in 2025, buyers weren't just shopping Georgetown, they were shopping a lane, meaning a property type or a location or a condition, meaning they were looking for a home that was turnkey or not turnkey because they were willing to do some work. But overall, the market didn't reward average. It rewarded homes that were an easy yes. That's why one person might think, hey, this seems like a buyer's market. And another one might feel like, hey, good homes are still moving quickly. Well, both of those people are right. If you're a buyer, your advantage is recognizing the lane you're actually in, the type of property you want before you make an offer. You don't want to overpay in a fast lane just to get a house, and you don't want to buy the wrong house just because it's negotiable. If you're a seller, pricing strategy has to match your lane and be realistic no matter what lane you're in. If your pocket is slower, buyers will wait you out unless you give them a reason to say yes. The price has to be realistic, whether you're a turnkey home or one that needs a little bit of work. So now that you can see why 25 became multiple Georgetown markets, part 2 is what most people missed, meaning inventory can loosen up and the market can still feel tight in the lanes that buyers actually want. And yes, 25 was another year when buyers felt like they had leverage. When the number of active listings increases, the buyer's brain changes. They stop feeling like they have to say yes today because they think, well, there'll be another one next week. But here's a surprise for you. More inventory didn't translate into an easy market because the market was still separated into 2 piles. Homes that people agree are clean, functional, and priced realistically, those still got absorbed. Homes with friction, like a busy road, awkward layout, deferred maintenance, overpriced, those sat on the market longer and started stacking days in the market and were negotiated harder. So that's why 2 things could be true at once. The market feels slower, but good homes still don't last very long. Here's another reason it felt like a tough market. Supply improved, but closings softened. That combination is what creates the slower market narrative, even if demand still exists. You see, buyers were shopping, but fewer deals crossed the finish line because buyers negotiated harder, took longer, or just walked away if it didn't feel like a slam dunk. If a seller wasn't willing to do something after the inspection, guess what? The buyer would find a seller who was. Now, we've seen about a 5-month supply, 4 months to 6 or 7 months, depending on the area and the property type. Now, that's a little looser inventory, but it's not a flood of supply. It is, however, the kind of market where buyers have options, and great homes will still sell in a timely manner. And even with that kind of inventory, we saw longer decision cycles. Buyers continued to look, but they stopped committing as quickly unless the home was obviously worth the payment. And we've talked about how important the payment is nowadays. So in 2025, buyers had leverage. They had the ability to walk away, which they hadn't had in previous years. If you're looking at a home that was an easy yes, you didn't get to take your time. If it was a maybe, that's where negotiations opened up for you. So your opportunity in a looser inventory year as a buyer is leverage on the maybe homes. That's where you negotiate price, in credits, in repairs, in terms. But you still need an A-tier strategy for homes that everybody agrees on, homes that are priced well and a great value. Because those homes don't just slow down because inventory goes up. Now, if you're a seller, you no longer are competing against last year. You're competing against the other homes a buyer can tour this weekend. If you want a fast, clean sell, you have to price realistically. You've got to remove any challenges because buyers aren't forgiving when they have options. So now that you can see why inventory loosened up, but the market still didn't feel easy, let's talk about the real story. Demand didn't disappear, it just got pickier and more payment sensitive. 2025 set the stage for a Georgetown real estate market that sorts harder, not softer, meaning it's a more challenging market. Buyers are pickier. So when people ask what's going to happen in 2026 in Georgetown, Texas, the real answer is this. It depends on the lane that you're in, the type of home, the location, the price range, and how close a monthly payment is to a buyer's comfort zone. So here are my 3 predictions for 2026. First, it will be a split market year again, and it'll be more obvious. You see, the gap will widen between A-tier homes, the clean, absolute yes homes, and the homes with challenges, the maybe homes, and that'll happen within the same areas. Secondly, if rates ease, and we think they will, demand returns in waves and concentrates first. The first effect won't be everything goes up, it'll be short bursts of competition for the best homes, the A-tier homes, those that are priced right for the condition they're in. Third prediction, inventory and negotiating power will improve unevenly. You'll see more leverage and price cuts on listings that have been sitting while the best homes continue to move well. Because they're scarce, it's easy to see they are A-tier homes. Now that you have my 3 predictions, let's go back and start with the first point, why 26 becomes an even more obvious split market, and how to tell which lane you're actually shopping in. Now, I know that discussions about multiple markets going on in one market can be a little bit confusing, so don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like more description and more detail on 55 plus, 1 acre plus, master plan, typical subdivisions. We keep all the data and information at hand and update it constantly if we can help. If you're not quite ready to reach out, download our buyer guide. It's packed with information, lots of details on the various markets within Georgetown, and lots of information on Georgetown itself. I think you'll find it helpful. So remember, the first prediction was that 26 becomes a split market year again, and it's more obvious. Georgetown won't feel like one market in 26. It's going to feel like multiple markets running at different speeds at the same time. People will be having discussions and comments and have totally different perspectives of the market, but they'll both be right. Because one buyer might be touring stale listings with high leverage and big negotiation, while another one's chasing a small group of A-tier homes that don't offer much leverage or negotiation. Yes, I think the gap will widen between those A-tier homes and everything with challenges, even in the same areas. Buyers aren't in the mood to inherit surprises anymore. A good, clean presentation and realistic pricing that matches today's payment reality is critical. In short, it feels like a clean yes home to most buyers the minute they walk in. It's very apparent. Homes that aren't A-tier homes, anything that creates daily burden. Anytime a buyer starts doing mental math, what will it cost to fix this? And which project should I take on first? Anything priced like an A-tier home that needs maintenance or needs improvements is a maybe home. Now here's why I think the split will get sharper in 2026. Because in 25, buyers were trained to be picky. They learned that they didn't have to force a yes anymore. They had the ability to compare, to walk away, and to take their time. And that's not going to disappear in 2026. The demand will still be there, but it'll concentrate harder on homes that feel safe, turnkey, and worth the payment and the price. Now, how do you tell which lane you're actually in? Well, if a home checks boxes and feels easy, expect faster movement on it, even if the broader market feels slow. If a home needs explanations and has lots of question marks, expect it to sit longer and become more negotiable. If the listing has been sitting a while, don't assume it's a good deal yet. First, identify why it's sitting. Is it price, condition, location, buyer confidence issues? And your strategy changes by the lane you're in. Move fast on those A-tier homes and negotiate hard on the others. See, in 2026, you're not competing against the whole market. You're competing against the handful of buyers who are shopping the same lane as you are. That's why a lot of times you see multiple offers on a home that's been in the market a long time. And the surprise for most people isn't that everything goes up or down. It's that bidding situations, price cuts can happen in the very same area at the same time. Now, here's why this matters. As I mentioned before, if rates ease at all, the split doesn't go away. It actually gets sharper because demand doesn't return evenly. It returns in waves, and it concentrates on the best homes first. So let's look at that. My second prediction: if rates ease, demand will return in waves, and it'll concentrate on those best homes. What does that mean? Well, a small rate dip doesn't restart the whole market. It lowers the monthly payment enough to pull some buyers back in, no question. But those buyers don't return evenly across every listing. They return for the same few homes that everybody agrees on as A-tier homes. That's why 26 might feel weird again. One buyer might see price cuts and think it's a great deal in a great deal market, while another one is suddenly in competition for an A-tier home and they don't understand why they're in competition. You see, demand in waves looks like short bursts of urgency when an A-tier home hits the market, especially when it hits the market in the right area. Just because rates improve doesn't mean all the inventory is magically going to become more desirable. The market doesn't rise like a tide, it pulses in specific lanes. Now you might be wondering, why does demand concentrate first instead of spreading out evenly? Because most people think it spreads out. Payment-sensitive buyers have a checklist, and if rates give them a little more breathing room, they can go straight to the better options, the A-tier homes, and those are scarce, and scarcity creates competition. And when confidence returns, those are the homes people will go after. Meanwhile, the homes with challenges still have challenges. So you're going to see this show up in Georgetown as the clean A-tier yes homes start moving first again. Those in good condition, good layout, good location, priced realistically. The maybe homes are still going to sit and get negotiated. The ones that have explanations, need questions answered, need updates, aren't priced realistically. You could literally see two headlines at the same time. The market is still slow in Georgetown, Texas, and homes move fast in Georgetown, Texas, because both are going to be true. So here's how to protect yourself if you're buying. If you want an A-tier home, treat it like an A-tier lane. Be ready Be decisive. Don't assume you'll have time just because other listings are sitting. If you're flexible, you can use the wait pattern to your advantage. Target the maybe homes where leverage shows up and negotiate hard, resulting in an A-tier deal. But please don't confuse rates decreasing with everything being competitive. The best homes will be competitive first. And if you're selling, here's how to protect yourself. Make sure you have an A-tier home. A rate dip can bring your buyer pool back faster than you expect. If your home is a maybe, you still need to remove those challenges. The sellers who win in 26 are going to be the ones who understand which lane they're competing in when they list their home. Again, if rates dip, the first effect won't be that everything goes up. It won't add value to maybe homes. The first effect is that competition returns for the best homes on the market. That rate change can bring buyers back, but it doesn't fix a house that has question marks. That's why you'll continue to see price cuts and fast sales happening in the same area. Okay, now that you understand why demand returns unevenly when rates ease, here's the last piece. Negotiating power improves unevenly as well. You'll see more leverage on listings that sit and less leverage on the best homes that still move because they're scarce. And remember my prediction 3, inventory negotiating power improve unevenly in 26, and it won't feel like a clean reset where everything just suddenly becomes easier and it becomes a less challenging market. It's going to feel uneven. Leverage shows up on listings that sit, not on listings that are A-tier homes. Think of 26 like 2 markets running at the same time. And that's why more listings, higher inventory doesn't automatically mean better deals. More listings creates comparison, and comparison makes buyers harsher. Buyers have stopped saying, "I'll take it," and start saying, "Convince me." The way this shows up in real life is days on the market. Some homes still sell quickly because they're the best option, and others rack up days on the market, get multiple price reductions, and start inviting lowball offers. The most important 2026 skill for buyers is not waiting. It's identifying why something is sitting before you call it an opportunity. If it's sitting because it's overpriced, it can become a deal, but only when the price catches up to reality. If it's sitting because of a permanent problem, it might never be a good buy. And the discount has to be even deeper. It's got to be big enough to compensate for the resale risk. If it's sitting because it's a cosmetic fixer, that can be a great negotiation lane for buyers who have cash reserves, patience, and the know how to do that. Negotiating power in 26 will show up in more specific ways than people realize. Price cuts on listings that miss the mark, seller credits for buy downs or closing costs. Those will occur on homes where the payment is the main issue. Repairs, concessions for repairs after inspections, because buyers are just less willing to absorb costly surprises or even less costly surprises. And deals will fall apart because sellers won't adjust. Buyers are more willing to walk away and pick the next option. Again, 2 buyers can have totally different experiences in the very same weekend. One buyer sees a home that's been on the market a while and negotiates a very good discount, while another one tours a turnkey home in a great area and realizes they don't have flexibility or negotiating power. Both experiences are true at the same time in the same market, and that's the uneven and hard to understand part about the Georgetown, Texas real estate market. In 2026, leverage doesn't show up everywhere. It shows up when a home has been sitting and has challenges. Even if it's a fantastic home, if it was just priced improperly, that's where leverage shows up. But if a home's an easy yes, you still don't get to take your time. If it's a maybe, that's when you start negotiating like crazy. The trick is to know why it's sitting. Is it price or a real problem? Now that you have my 3 predictions, the real question is what to do with that. Because the winners in 26 won't be the people who time the market perfectly. It'll be those who pick the right lane and use the right strategy for that particular situation. Here's what all this means before you make your move in 26. Georgetown won't hand you one simple answer for the Georgetown market. Your results aren't going to come from a market overall analysis. They'll come from your situation, the pocket you choose, the price band, the location, the property type. And for most people, how the monthly payment feels to them and that particular home. That's why people will sound like they're living in different cities because, well, they kind of are. Micro markets behave very differently at the very same time. So the first decision you're going to need to make, pick your lane before you pick a house. If you want an A-tier home, treat it like an A-tier lane and use a search and negotiating strategy that's appropriate for it. If you're open to a maybe home, you can still win in 26, but only if you negotiate it like a pro and if the discount matches the reason it's been sitting. Watch for those homes that should have been A-tier homes but were just priced too high. Those become some of the best deals. If you're buying in 2026 and the home is a clean yes, expect faster movement, even if the overall market seems slower. Be ready with your lender, your decision criteria, and your timeline. If the home you're looking for is a maybe, that's where leverage lives. Negotiate hard on the price, credits, repairs, and terms based on why it's sitting. The biggest buyer mistake in 26 will be buying a maybe home without a maybe home discount, just because it finally feels negotiable. Now, if you're selling in 2026, make sure you have a clean yes home. You can still create urgency with realistic pricing, strong presentation, and that's because buyers compete for certainty. Now, if you own a home that you probably consider a maybe home, you're going to need to remove those challenges or price it accordingly. In 26, being even slightly overpriced is not just a small mistake. It can be the difference between getting action now and chasing the market later and taking a lower price. Now, new construction versus resale is an issue. Don't just compare sticker prices. In a payment-driven market, incentives can change the monthly payment and shift where buyers choose to shop. Resale sellers are competing against new build options, and those can offer simpler choices and come with financial incentives for buyers. New build buyers should make sure they actually like that lane long term, because you're going to be there a while. Taxes, HOA, commute, daily convenience. If you're buying a new home, know what you're getting. In 26, I think that location and traffic will be an issue. A house that looks perfect on paper might become exhausting 6 months later if the drive patterns don't match up to your life. The areas that reduce friction move better and stay protected because buyers pay for certainty and simplicity. The areas that have friction tend to be where negotiation opens up because fewer people are excited to say yes when there are question marks. The simplest 2026 playbook: pick your lane first, then pick your house. Move fast on clean, yes, A-tier homes. Negotiate hard on maybe homes, but only when the discount matches the reason it's sitting. Protect your resale future now, because homes that are hard to sell now are usually hard to sell later. Now that you know how to think about 2026 before you make a move, let's wrap this up with the one action step that will protect you the most no matter what side of the market you're on. As mentioned, in 2025, Georgetown, Texas didn't behave like one market. It behaved like multiple micro markets, and that's why it was confusing. Inventory loosened compared to prior years, but it still wasn't easy mode because the best homes were still scarce. Demand didn't disappear, but it did get pickier and more payment conscious, which is why the market was far less forgiving. Clean, yes homes still moved. Homes with challenges and issues sat longer and were negotiated harder by buyers. New construction incentives created a separate lane, and lifestyle communities ran in their own rhythm. The entire year had windows, slower moments, hotter moments, but going into 26, don't be surprised that competition and price cuts can be happening at the exact same time, depending on the location and the type of property and price range that you're looking in. My job is to help you make the right move in Georgetown, Texas, with clarity, not emotion. So you don't overpay, don't pick the wrong corridor, and you don't end up with a home that's hard to sell later. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to Georgetown, Texas in 2026, there's a link below. You can book a no-pressure consultation where we'll look at your budget, your timeline, what neighborhoods and property types actually fit your lifestyle. I'll tell you honestly whether now is the right time or waiting might be a smarter move for your situation. And if you want to stay on top of what's happening in Georgetown, Texas, as 26 unfolds, subscribe. Check out the next video on your screen, because I'm going to break down pocket by pocket so that you can make a confident move to Georgetown. Thanks for watching. Remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day.